Hello everyone, welcome to third lecture of the highway engineering, that is road material. Today we will discuss about different type of road material used in for construction of the pavement. These are soil, aggregate and binder. Then why soil used as highway subgrade, that is function of soil as highway subgrade. Then severe method and how severe is determined, what is severe and its significance. Next and last we will discuss about testing on aggregate. These tests are physical tests like abrasion test, impact test, crossing strength test, water absorption test and soundness test. Okay, let us start from different type of road material. The road material, as we know, the different type of road material are, we know some binder are used to bind some materials, aggregate and soil. Soil is the most common material which is used for the road construction, and these are the materials which are borrowed from the roadside or borrowed from elsewhere if the subgrade soil is not to the requirement of required strength. Then aggregate, different type of aggregate like coarse aggregate and fine aggregate are used for construction of road. And in a coarse aggregate, different shape of aggregate, different size of aggregate are used in different layer. Here is a example. We can see here is the subgrade course which is natural soil bed. Here is the subbase course which is filled with some soil and aggregate. Here is base course which is filled with some other type of aggregate. Here is surface course which is filled with chips. Next, coming to asphalt or bitumen. Asphalt and bitumen are often mistaken by being one and same thing. However, while asphalt is the mixture of aggregate, binder and filler used for the constructing road and their associated furnitures, bitumen is actually the semi-solid binder that holds asphalt together. Means bitumen is the binder which hold the asphalt and aggregate together. And using bitumen we are constructing a flexible pavement. Then why is soil as a subgrade material? As in the earth, soil is most of the portion of the earth surface is covered with soil. So we have taken soil as subgrade material, means base material, or over which other material is laid to carry over and to distribute the load in the soil. Subgrade means the native soil. Subgrade means the native soil to resist its overload formed by any cutting and snatching or filing. So, as we already discussed, the subgrade means native soil. Native soil means the soil which is naturally present over which we are applying some different grade. This can be natural, undisturbed material, although usually natural soil will become compacted to uniformity. Means we have to compact the natural soil first, then we have to lay other layer over that subgrade. To provide an adequate support, the function of soil as subgrade is to provide adequate support to the road pavement. To provide stability to the road pavement means it will give a firm base to the road pavement, that is adequate support. As it giving the firm base, it will give the required strength to the different layer and to distribute the load, that is the stability, and to provide good drainage of rainwater. If we are using a rock or some stone, the stone may not allow for water to pour through it, but soil can allow water to pour through it along its voids. To prevent various defects such as waves, corrugation, rods, crack, these are all the function why we are using universally soil as a subgrade. So another time I am repeating why soil is subgrade material, because of its adequate support to the road pavement, stability, good drainage property, and prevention from defect like corrugation and rotting. So coming to next, CBR. What is CBR? CBR means California bearing ratio. Here California bearing ratio means this test is carried in California, and at the initially the test is carried over compacted stone dust. In that stone dust, the penetration value we have measured as 100%, and over that, what material we are using now, the highway material, what we are used for the subgrade, that material strength is calculated with respect to the stone dust, and that ratio is called California bearing ratio. Here is the definition. It is the ratio of force per unit area required to penetrate soil mass with standard circular piston at a rate of 1.25 mm per minute. Means this is the loading rate to that of required corresponding penetration of a standard material. This standard material is stone dust in California. So this test is carried out in California Highway Research Department for the design of flexible pavement. This point is important, for which we are using California bearing ratio, and for what we are using California for subgrade, and for subgrade of flexible pavement we are using California bearing ratio. The tests are carried out on natural compacted soil in water, soaked or unsoaked condition, and the result is so obtained are compacted with curve of standard test to have an idea of strength of the subgrade soil. So here is the apparatus which are used for the subgrade preparation of CBR test. Here is the CBR machine. Here is the proving ring. Here is the dial gauge. Here is the plunger of 50 mm dia. Here is the height of the mold. Here is the diameter of the sample or inner diameter of sample. Here is the surcharge load. These are the surcharge load. Here is the compactor. Before preparing CBR mold, we have to compact the soil by standard proctor test or modified proctor test to its optimum moisture content and maximum dry density. These are the apparatus which you will require: mold, steel cutter roller, spacer disc, surcharge weight, dial gauge, ISC, penetration plunger, loading machine, and miscellaneous apparatus. Here is the procedure how we will prepare the soil specimen. The soil specimen, as I have discussed earlier, that we have to prepare the soil specimen first in like modified proctor test and standard proctor test. These are the procedure for the modified proctor test and standard proctor test, how we have already discussed. For modified or standard proctor test, we have to carry a sieve of 19 mm and a sieve of 4.75 mm. We will take the material which will pass in 19.5 mm sieve and return on 4.75 mm IS sieve, conforming to IS 2720 part 8 of 1983. We will check for remolding or dry density test by modified and standard proctor test. Here is the we will give dynamic compaction, that is a representative sample of soil weighing approximately 4.5 kg or more on a fine grained soil and 5.5 kg for granular soil. Shall be taken and mixed thoroughly with water. If the soil is to be compacted, the maximum dry density at the optimum moisture content, the exact mass of the soil required to be taken and necessary quantity of water added so that the water content of the soil sample is equal to determined optimum moisture content. We have to calculate the optimum moisture content and maximum dry density. Then we will, after preparation of the mold, we will place it on the on the mold of modified compactor test, and in that mold we will or standard proctor test, on that mold we will prepare that mold and test the soil specimen to its optimum moisture content and maximum dry density. Then we will come to the penetration test of CBR test. After preparation of the mold assembly, then we have to keep the mold for 96 hours in uh, water, applying a filter paper over and below the mold so that no inert material will enter into the soil specimen. Then after 96 hours, we will keep out the mold from the from the water and keep it 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours in atmosphere, so that the water water which are on the surface of the mold uh, keep drying or keep dried. And after that we will take the mold to the test specimen. Here I am reading the procedure. Place the mold assembly with test specimen on the lower plate of penetration testing machine. To prevent upheaval of the soil into the hole, of surcharge weight of 2.5 kg, annular weight shall be placed, over which 2.5 kg of annular weight will be placed on the soil surface prior to seating of penetration of plunger. After that, means before plunger placing, we will place a 2.5 kg load. Seat penetration piston at the center of the specimen with smallest possible load, but no case in excess of 4 kg, means we will apply the load 2.5 kg at initial, then we will apply next load which will not exceed at a time 4 kg, so that full contact of piston on the sample is established. Means here the contact of piston on the sample so is established, we have to keep in mind. Then we have to give load at a rate of 1.25 mm per minute. Before that we have to ensure the dial gauge should read 0. Then record the penetration at 0.5 mm, 1 mm up to 12.5 mm. Then raise the plunger and detach the mold after the loading equipment. Take about 20 to 50 gram of soil from the top 30 mm layer to determine the moisture content. Next we have to calculate the CBR. So CBR is calculated by drawing its curve which is concave upward. Apply correction by drawing a tangent to the curve. Then find the record from the correct reading, that is CBR is equal to PT upon PS by PT upon PS into 100. PT is your corrected test data from the load and PS is your standard test data. Then we have to plot CBR at 2.5 mm penetration and CBR at 5 mm penetration. Usually 2.5 mm penetration is greater than 5 mm penetration, which is applicable. If in some case 5 mm penetration is more than 2.5 mm, we have to retest that specimen, and if in the second test the 5 mm penetration is more than 2.5 mm penetration, we have to take the CBR value as 5 mm penetration. Here is the curve, here is some reading, and these are the standard load and these are the standard stress. We have to calculate 2.5 mm penetration, the load is 1370 and the stress is 70 kg per centimeter square, and for 5 mm 2055 kg and the unit standard load, that is the stress is 105 kg per centimeter square. Here is the corrected curve after correction. Next, uses and significance of CBR test. Now, use and significance of CBR test. First use of CBR test is to design thickness of highway and airfield pavement. Second use of and significance of CBR method is to determine the evaluation of subgrade strength. Means we have to take a part of the road which will test it for and determine its strength, that is its subgrade strength. These two are the major thing for which we are doing CBR test. First of all, thickness of pavement and highway, airfield pavement and highway, and second the subgrade strength. Again repeating the total test procedure. फॉर सीवियर टेस्ट हम लोग को क्या करना पड़ेगा कि हम लोग को पहले सॉइल सैंपल को लेना पड़ेगा। तो जो भी सॉइल सैंपल लेंगे हम टेस्ट करने के लिए उसको हम पहले स्टैंडर्ड प्रोटो टेस्ट एंड मॉडिफाइड प्रोटो टेस्ट, ये दोनों टेस्ट से कोई भी एक चलेगा। तो स्टैंडर्ड लो या मॉडिफाइड लो, जो भी उसका टेस्ट प्रोसीजर है उस प्रोसीजर को हम मेंटेन करेंगे। मेंटेन करने के बाद हम लोग को कब तक ये प्रोसीजर चलाना है, जब तक हम लोग ऑप्टिमम मॉइस्चर कंटेंट एंड मैक्सिमम ड्राई डेंसिटी अचीव करने लें। तो वंस अचीविंग द मैक्सिमम ड्राई डेंसिटी एंड ऑप्टिमम मॉइस्चर कंटेंट, द मोल्ड इज टेकन फॉर द सोकिंग इन water for 96 hours. Before soaking, you make sure that the test specimen is covered with a filter paper at the top and at the bottom, because any inert material that should not penetrate into the surface of that mold. Then after 96 hours हम लोग क्या कहते हैं कि वो जो मोल्ड है उसको बाहर निकालते हैं और उसको 5 आवर के लिए ड्राई करने के लिए रख देते हैं। 5 आवर के लिए ड्राई करने के लिए रख देते हैं, क्योंकि वो जो वाटर जो है उसके सरफेस के ऊपर होगा वो निकल जाएगा। उसके बाद क्या करेंगे, उसको हम पेनिट्रेशन मोल्ड में लेके डालेंगे, किसमें, सीबीआर मशीन में। तो उसके बाद सीबीआर मशीन डालने के बाद हम लोग एक लोडिंग देंगे इसके ऊपर, क्या कि 2.5 mm का लोडिंग देंगे, ताकि जो सॉइल का अपवेल है ना हो। मतलब एक गीला हुआ मिट्टी है उसके ऊपर अगर हम एक प्लंजर में लोड डालेंगे तो वो ऐसे नहीं हो जाएगा, उसका ऊपर का सरफेस ये ऐसे ना हो। इसलिए हम क्या करते हैं, इसके ऊपर एक 2.5 mm का 2.5 kg का लोड देते हैं। उसके बाद जैसे कि प्लंजर ये लोड के साथ टच में रहे, उसके बाद हम क्या करते हैं, जितना भी लोड देना है हम लोग उसके बाद धीरे धीरे देंगे क्योंकि जो भी लोड देंगे वो 4 kg से ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए। उसके बाद क्या करेंगे कि उसके हम लोडिंग देंगे। लोडिंग क्या है कि 1.25 mm पर मिनट में उसमें गियर देके लोडिंग डालेंगे। उसके बाद हम पेनिट्रेशन, ये प्लंजर का लोडिंग है जो 1.25 mm पर मिनट। उसके बाद रिकॉर्डिंग करेंगे क्या कि वो जो पेनिट्रेशन कितना हो रहा है, कितना लोडिंग में। उसके बाद उसको ग्राफ में प्लॉट करके सीबीआर पे वैल्यू निकालेंगे। ठीक है, तो यूज़ तो बोल दिया कि थिकनेस के लिए एंड सबग्रेड का स्ट्रेंथ जानने के लिए। नेक्स्ट आते हैं डिफरेंट टेस्ट। फर्स्ट आते हैं abrasion टेस्ट। abrasion टेस्ट मीन्स द म्यूचुअल रबिंग एक्शन ऑफ एग्रीगेट, मीन्स वी हैव टू डिटरमाइन द हार्डनेस। abrasion means mutual rubbing action. We have to here determine the hardness of the aggregate. The abrasion test, impact test, these are some short notes. Here what we will discuss, what is the abrasion test, in which machine that test is prepared, what is the code for abrasion test, and what is the standard value, and the procedure how we will calculate abrasion value. Then here abrasion test means, as I have already said, it is prepared for determining the hardness property of the aggregate by a machine known as Los Angeles machine, and the code conforming to 2386 part 4, 2386 part 4, repeating another time. And this machine fitted with a 700 mm length diameter drum having a diameter of 520 mm, and in that drum 48 mm size steel balls, 7 or 11 or 12, 10 number of balls are there, having weight of 340 to 445 kg. Then the drum is rotated at a rate of 30 to 33 rpm for a total revolution of 500 to 1000 revolution. This revolution is for material of 5 kg to 10 kg. We can test at a time 5 to 10 kg of material. Then after running of 5 to 1000 revolution, what are the material crossed over with the steel ball, we have to calculate by sieving it through 1.7 mm size sieve, and The test result is calculated by W2 upon receiving retained by what we have given W1, and this value is maximum 40% allowed for WBM base course. Why 40% for base course and in Indian condition, and for bituminous course maximum 35%. In abrasion test, as this is mutual rubbing action, the top surface require more strength or more harder material, because the top surface is more permeable or more prone to or more exposed to the loading which is caused due to abrasion or rubbing action of tire and aggregate. Therefore, the maximum value is 40% for WBM base course, and for bituminous concrete that is 35%. Then coming to next, impact test. Impact means sudden action of load, means jerking of load. This test determines the resistance of impact against aggregate. Resistance of aggregate against impact. For this test, we have to carry aggregate 12.5 mm passing through 12.5 mm sieve and retaining through 10 mm IS sieve. Passing through 12.5 mm sieve and retained on 10 mm IS sieve. Then we have to keep those aggregate in a cup of internal diameter 10.2 mm and depth of 5 cm, that is 50 mm. Then the loading assembly is shown here. Then metal hammer, this is the metal hammer which is having weight of 13.5 to 14 kg and having a free fall of above 38 from the 38 cm. Then we have to calculate the aggregate impact value after a number of falling of 15 times. That is formula written mistakenly, that is W2 upon W1 in 200. Part of the material after 15 times of impact, part of the material retained is taken and sieved through 2.36 mm IS sieve. Then what are the material retained in 2.36 mm IS sieve? That material, that weight of the material divided by total sample of material is give your aggregate impact value, that is AIV. And this value should not exceed 30% for wearing course, and for bituminous macadam this value should not exceed 35%, and in no case, that is WBM road, that value should not exceed 40%, means 30% for wearing course, 35% for bituminous macadam road, and 40% for waterborne macadam road, that is WBM road. Then coming to next, crossing strength test. This test is carried out to determine the compressive strength of aggregate, which is carried out on a CTM machine, that is a compression testing machine. In this test, we have to confirm the IS code number IS 2386 part 4. That test is similar to the impact test, except here a impact is giving 15 revolutions 15 times, but here it will give a gradual increasing of load, which will give its crossing strength. Usually the crossing strength less than 10 is signifies that it is exceptionally strong, and above 35 it gives a weak aggregate. Next, water absorption. Water absorption means the how much voids present in the stone we will determine in water absorption. If more water will absorb, then that stone is very weak and we can't use it for our construction purpose, for which we have to keep some aggregate 24 hours in water. And how much water is soaked in, we will calculate from the formula weight aggregate to weight of dry aggregate into 100. That dry aggregate, mostly surface dry aggregate, means before this water absorption test we need to keep those aggregate in oven so that we can give it surface dry condition. Next, soundness test. Soundness means the chemical resistance property of aggregate, which is written in code IS 2386 part 5, and we have to give two chemical. These are sodium sulfate and magnesium sulfate, in which the deterioration of aggregate or salt on the surface of aggregate should not exceed 12% in case of sodium sulfate, and in case of magnesium sulfate that should be not exceed 18%. That sodium sulfate or magnesium sulfate is keeping on the aggregate for 16 to 18 hours and then dried in the oven at a temperature of 105 to 110 degree centigrade. Here is the last slide, and here is the third chapter of the highway engineering covered. Thank you.